Hello, welcome to another video from the Tradelands Nation. This is our monthly economic report, and we're doing these live. Started doing these about 2 weeks ago this way. It's an easier format for me because it requires less editing, which means I can get them out a little bit quicker. Like I said, given some of the time constraints, specifically with my work, do not permit me to spend the 100+ hours I used to spend editing of the videos that I was making for Tradelands before. I hope those days return because I really did enjoy them quite a bit. But in the meantime, to at least go back to providing the economic data back to the community, I started to do these live, and that's where we are today. Just a couple of things on my end. This is a new rig for me. The first time I'm streaming on this one. I mentioned back when we were doing the Freeport games that I had actually run out of space on my previous hard drive. And so I have been cobbling together a lot of RAID drives, reusing them as extra storage space, but essentially it was a short-term solution only. Ultimately, I needed to get a new computer and kind of work all that out, and I started hitting the limits in terms of what I could do. Here we are today. I do expect there to be a lot of glitches. I spent so much time reconfiguring this. For those of you who are on some of the previous streams, especially the ones that weren't about Tradelands, definitely saw some of the struggles I was under that. So the majority of this stream I actually expect to be spent on talking about some of the variants, the new ones specifically that just came out, which I haven't even looked at. Typically, I don't do that in advance because I want to be surprised. I kind of learn it as I go to kind of experience what it might be like for anybody else who's going to go through them for the first time. Give you my thoughts in real time so that way you know what I'm thinking, how I'm thinking about it. Then ultimately I'll make some choices. My experience last time with the gargoyle variants has led me to believe I will not be buying both at this time. But needless to say, given that it's only applied to one ship this time, I think I only want to buy one of those ships because I just know I probably won't use it again once I've bought it. Welcome to the Tradelands. I will probably play as Whitecrest. My guess is the ship probably will not. I normally like to play as Trade Guild. Trade Guild is safer, especially when I'm streaming, and I'm not going to get stream sniped as much. But I have a feeling the ship variant I'm going to have to buy today is probably going to be Whitecrest, and I don't feel like logging back into the game once I've logged on as Whitecrest and see how it goes. Ooh, there's a nice one right there. That's the Megalodon. I like this backdrop. I'm totally going to put myself right here. All right, so let's talk about the economic report. Let's talk about the economic state of the game right now. Here we are with a look at the stock exchange. So we start with the MNG index. It closes at 25,676. This is up 1.79% for the month. Not a whole lot that we need to talk about here. It's been pretty stable. Iron prices remain fairly stable as well. They closed at around 183 as I recall, but let's just say rounded around 180, which the previous close would have been 175, so that's roughly stagnant. They're not really changing a whole lot. And this chart isn't really showing much change at all either. It is above the 25,000 mark at the moment, but it has been hovering up and down at this mark for the past year, which means if you're thinking there is inflation happening on the MNG index, we aren't seeing it, at least not right now. However, the one note that we do want to make is not related to the MNG index, the JSI index, which measures the timber felling industry. We've been reporting for a while now that JSI index, again timber felling, is actually starting to reach parity with the MNG index, and we are seeing that gap close once again. JSI index closed at 23,109.75. This is up 2.87%. Or 663 points. We're now within around, let's say, 2,000 points to the point at which these two indexes would be equal in value. Previously, it is common that the MNG index, the mining industry, if you will, was outperforming the timber felling industry, although the timber felling industry typically had a higher volume of goods being sold on the market. What we're seeing as parity gets closer to this, the timber felling industry does appear to be the more profitable one, at least for the time being, largely due in part to the fact that ships, specifically wood-built ships, tend to be the most common thing released this year, which means that we're, again, not surprised to see this index climb once again. The third index that we're going to look at today is the earnings index. We refer to this as the FEGRM index internally, and it measures the performance of shops in Tradelands. You'll see that there's a little bit of interesting things happening here. This index closed at 46,218. It's actually 0.39%, so that means it was flat for the month. It is technically up 1,779 points, but that's because this index is a lot higher than the last two, which closed at 25 and 23K respectively. However, the big dip that you see here at the latter half of the month actually has to do with a bulk sale of premium woods, actually exclusive woods, I'm sorry. Exclusive woods are ones that are purchased only through certain events and only through the premium merchant and limited time basis only. think Pone Wood, if I remember correctly, was one of these. The other one, of course, was Blood Oak. Those being sold in bulk because bulk sellers typically demand less money for those. Typically brings the index down, but you'll see that it actually ended up right back up to where it was before. If I'm not mistaken, that is because of a correction that was done with steam engines, although that was more just a correction trying to bring the price up from its current price point of about 130K. Nothing really spectacular, just a note that the market is fairly stable instead of collapsing due to a one-time bulk purchase, which is why you see this only happening for a short period of time. Overall, we aren't seeing anything major moving with this market either. Now, that's all I have for the main charts, but what I can show you actually is our dashboard. Actually, I'm not going to show you the dashboard. I'm actually going to move to the website because the website will have a lot more detail and I can move a lot more freely, so let's do that. Okay, I want to actually go here to the primary indexes, and let's take a look at what's actually happening in the market right now. This is a pretty normal performance for the previous month of May. A lot of ups and downs that has to do with player activity for the most part, and what people are when people are buying and selling things. Typically, Fridays and Saturdays tend to be the lowest, but then Sundays and Mondays tend to be the highest. That's why you see the big drops and ups. The other thing that I want to point out, this is the market activity report. So when the new ship variant was released for the month, you do see that we eventually hit the point where buy pressure had actually reached the point of sell pressure. And at that point, we see a slow and steady decline in buying pressure. A healthy market will look like this, that you see at the beginning half of the month, where half of the market is a seller's market and half of the market is a buyer's market. We see the opposite here. This means that the market is actually primed for some new things being added to the game. Because when you see this moment here where it peaks out, that's typically means you've hit market saturation. Now, we do this chart on individual items to see which items are primed to be re-released or otherwise having new items that are similar to it being put onto the market. But we also do this holistically. This chart specifically is a holistic view of the entire market, not for a specific item. But you can see this definitely means that players are interested in seeing new items added to the game at larger volumes than just onesie, twosie kinds of releases that you'd see kind of like with the ship variants. So that was an interesting note for the market. Just looking here at the candlestick charts, again, this is why we don't think that anything major is happening at the moment. A little bit of down pressure by the end of the month, but largely stagnant, hanging out around 25,700. JSI index, of course, did get that large bump. We do see some push off at the end, but again, it has already made its steep climb, so this is expected. This is a normal correction. Whether or not it continues to go back down and goes back underneath the 23K point remains to be seen. Or if is it going to maintain itself at this level, we'll have to wait and see. And again, you see flat throughout most of the month, hence why I say for the earnings index, we didn't see a whole lot of movement. It didn't close much higher than where it started. You do see that one blip. Those are, again, bulk sellers, but that's about it. And of course, almost immediate correction. That's what you normally see in a healthy market. That's where we are. The other question that I typically get asked almost every time is going to be about premium tokens. You can pull up the charts. Actually, yeah, if there's interest, I will pull up the actual dashboard that I see, and I can actually show you. But let's just go ahead and take a look right here because I already got the website on the screen. Stock indexes. Yes, this is where I'm looking to go. Let's go take a look at premium tokens. Premium tokens are selling at, come on, where are you? Premium tokens, here you go. Premium tokens are currently selling just above 360 per piece. This, of course, is the joint chart that shows both the buying and selling. If you look at this chart down here, you'll see we're selling at about 377 on average. We're buying down here closer to 300. Actually, it's just a bit north of that. I think it was 305. We can actually check the numbers here in a second. And we see very healthy capitalization throughout the month. Again, very healthy. So, but this does show that we've seen a permanent increase from the 340 mark that we were at last month to 360. That will be reflected in the pricing that we're going to do later when we have to talk about the variants, because I'm pretty sure premium tokens are involved. Prices for those premium tokens will matter. The other one to point out is there is a resurgence in the Wyvern blueprint. Let's take a look at that really quick. The thing to note here is you can see the last updated date was actually May 31st. And what that means is you have, in order to get refreshed on here, you have to have a large enough volume on a continual basis. And that means we actually saw that again, which is, for a long time, it just basically fell off the market. It fell off the market once sellers started trying to sell them at 10 million per piece. Now, the reason this is an important call out is because this follows when we see these reports, and again, I can pull up the dashboard and show you this in more detail. But these reports indicate that these may be on their way to a re-release. I say that because this is the same trend we see for things like Heartwood. Heartwood is the most common one because it's re-released every February. And right before you see a re-release, you see a dramatic increase in the amount of volume, specifically by sellers. You also see a dramatic increase in buyers trying to lowball the prices because they know where it's going to end up. But sellers mostly are trying to sell their inventory quickly because they know that the inventory is about to increase back onto the market. And of course, it's going to immediately drop their price points as soon as it does. So they're trying to establish a position in the market before that happens. And again, Heartwood is the most common one. Heartsteel as well, right? They both get released in February. But we've seen it in Ghost Morphs. We've seen it in the premium material cladifiers. Occasionally, you'll see them with the universal cannons. Occasionally. I say that kind of with an asterisk because the cannon crates don't work the same way. But you do see a little bit of it, and you have to watch it really close to really notice. The other thing that we'll see, the Ghost Ship vouchers are a big one for sure. And then also anything that comes up usually in the winter events will actually occur there as well. Like what was the one? The Bingle Hopper Figurehead was a common one that used to happen before they went off sale and stopped returning because people were expecting them to return on sale and they didn't. And then that's when that stopped. So again, and I'm just showing the Wyvern blueprint voucher, but there were others that had enough volume to be refreshed as well, indicating that it's likely that we're on the verge of a re-release of these. That's a good thing, but it also means it's hard to tell whether this price point will remain. Players, I'm sure, will be very happy to sell this at 10 million, given that when they bought it originally, it was closer to 1.2 million. Once it's re-released, who knows? It depends on the volume of what's released. But the other thing is they came out with cannon crate. I mean, they came out with the mystery crates, the ones that you can trade. So there's technically still some on the market that you could open, but the drop rate was like 1%. So it's not likely that you're actually going to get one by doing that. I don't recommend taking that route. And the other thing that we noticed is those who had the Wyvern blueprint most likely spent it by now. So there's that aspect of it as well. But those are the big call outs for the month. It all gives us the indication that something's probably coming, and I'm not going to just dance around this. We know something's coming. This is the 10th year anniversary. We know that a big map update is on its way, which that's a good point. There was a question, I think World Builder asked me, it came from the website, he said, whether or not we were going to add new ships to the ship page. Let me go here and show you what they're referring to. So it's this one, where we rate all the ships. The reason why we have not updated this is because we know the map update's coming, and one of the big things we have to do is rerun all the trade routes, which means I've got to redo this page no matter what, and it's going to require the whole team to figure out how we do that. It took us 4 months last time to run every trade route with the ships at all the different speeds and sail variations, and this was before we had the chart at the shipwright. Just let me explain what I mean by the chart at the shipwright, because that was a new addition. We didn't have that before. You had to guess it. Like if you go here and I go to details, you see this right here. We didn't have this point of sale chart before. So when a ship said it was speed 10, for example, but we noticed that when we timed it, it was only speed 9. This is an example of why that was, because we were doing straight in at a certain target. It was very confusing because it wasn't clear to us, but now that they have this here, we know. That was a huge change, so we don't have to run them in quite as much detail as we used to, but nonetheless, we still have to run every single trade route because I don't expect this map to have everything in the exact same place that it is right now, based on some of the pictures that I've seen. So like one of the things we pointed out is Cannoneer's Key's entry point to their harbor. It makes it like the worst port in the entire map, but who knows? Maybe they're going to turn that around. I don't know, right? We got to figure all that out once the map happens. We've got to figure out what we're going to do. And only then, oh, you know what? You can't even see what I'm doing because I put the thing in the way. Let me go back and show that again. What I mean is this. I meant this. Sorry, guys. Thank you for telling me, though. When I build a ship and I go here, I click on details. This is the point of sale map. Some of these have different sail configurations like this. I was talking about the Sparrow one at the time, where this says it's a certain speed. It says max speed 8, but it's actually 7 because when you drive straight, it's actually speed 7. You need to be slightly off course. Actually, the way I train people is your flag will show you where this point is right here by how far left or right it's flying when it tilts back and forth. So that's how you tell what these are, and that's what you're actually flying towards. You're not trying to fly dead center. Yeah, we got to rerun all those, and so that's going to take us some time to do that. But that was a good reminder. Thank you for the point of sale conversation too. We're going to need some help with that. Is what I'll do. I'll show you guys. It's a matrix essentially, where we take every single point, and you have to go in both directions, both against the wind and for the wind. So we got to run them twice. So for example, you see the flag in the distance here is off to the left. Well, we'd have to run every trade route with the flag going on the left, and then we'd have to run every trade route with the flag going to the right. And it's like a matrix. We have to do every single possible combination to figure out how much time it takes. And then we have to run it, usually I said twice. Sometimes if we're not sure we took the fastest route with a ship, we will have to run it again just to verify the numbers. Although I have noticed there's like milliseconds of difference typically, and that doesn't affect your pricing that much. I think at a macro scale, a lot of what we're just trying to do is just make sure the cost and the value you can get out of it matters. And so that's what we got to do. And so that's going to be a lot of work. And so we know it. We're ready for it. That is everything I think I had on the list to start. Just scrolling through my notes as well. I will show the dashboard real quick on the premium tokens. Sure, I can do that. Stand by. Here's what our dashboard looks like. This is where I do a lot of the reporting. So when I'm making my analysis, or if someone asks me a question behind the scenes, I typically have this open. I actually have it pre-selected the premium token so you can get a sense of what this looks like. The most important charts on this entire thing are right here. Okay, these are all on the website. Well, these three are. This one's not because it's really confusing. But this is effectively how much higher or lower people are pulling prices on a pretty much an hourly basis. Some of them don't refresh that quick. That just means that they don't update it as often. But you can see we typically hover throughout most of the month. Prices hovered between 200 per piece and 400 per piece. 415 maybe. I mean, that's a little misleading on how large that is. That line actually goes to about here. But you're looking at an average of around 300. And the majority of these lines here are going to sit here in the 300 to 350 range. And if you want to see what this looks like, I have different views of basically the same information. Now we have the price pressure analysis. This is how it moves, but this is how people are pushing prices up and down. So if you look at this visually, you can see the majority of people are. So the blue up here represents sellers and how they, on a daily basis, how are they pushing prices up or down? What's the range they're typically selling things? And the buy range, you'll see how far up or down people typically want it to go. With, of course, some people wanting this to go below 200 per piece in some cases, right? Everybody would like to make money that way. But if you look at kind of, this is pretty stable, right? It doesn't move a whole lot. You can even see the lines are all representing that. But if you look real close, you can see it's hovering just above 300 per piece right here on this green line right here. This actually says it's hovering at 307 as the average right now. So this is probably the lowest you're going to get a premium token for. And I think it's wishful thinking the highest you'll get is 380. And the truth is somewhere in between. That's what that represents. I think if you can get premium tokens at 340 per piece, I think that's a good deal for right now. For the purposes of today, I'm going to estimate them out at 360. That's because this is what the end price came out to on the charts. And if there's anything I've always said about this, it's you got to support the data and you got to work with the data you have, right? Otherwise, what's the point in even putting all this together? So I will honor the prices, and the price got to do it every time. No. I think I have my own for that. I've already purchased that one. Thank you, but for the offer, I appreciate it. But no, I've already got the premium tokens. I should have the premium tokens to purchase any of the variants I need today. I know you're trying to get. That's fine. Okay, all right. I think that's it for the scripted part of our video. Let's close this and let's go back to the game and let's actually now talk about the real reason we're here, and that is variants. I want to go take a look at the new variants. So I haven't done this yet. Let's go see what we have. I'm assuming that the variants are probably named something related to June. We'll see. Helios. Okay. Helios. It looks like, okay, I'm going to read this. A Tyrant, the Helios Brawler variant, comes pre-customized with an elm hull, spruce deck, red oak stripe, oak details, fitted with maple and iron royal long guns, features an exclusive sail color and figurehead, available until July. They didn't even give a day on July. So despite them releasing this late, let's see. They released this yesterday, is it? I think the 9th. So if the first ones they released ended right on the first of the month, like midnight. This leads me to believe this ship will probably follow the same course. But the last few, because they did actually let them extend for a full 30 days, which I think was very nice. You did have some overlap. The other one, the Helios variants were available in were available in June if you'd missed them. So that was nice. But I take this to mean that you probably got until exactly midnight of the 30th to buy this, or else it's gone. I wouldn't take chances in waiting till July and seeing if that's what's going to happen. Like if you're waiting for a Robux payout or something, I wouldn't do that. All right. It includes one Helios staff blueprint. Okay. I made the mistake last time of not checking out the blueprint until it was too late. Let's go ahead and check out what that staff looks like. Okay. Oh. Okay. Let me see if I can get a better angle of this. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. That looks pretty freaking awesome. Okay. Well, I like that one. I wonder, I should have checked the pricing on that ship before I walked over here. I think it said, what, 5,000 for this? Plus the ship, of course, which is going to be a Tyrant variant. But I'm actually going to be pretty pleased with this. Hey, let's take a look at some of the other ones that they had last time. So the Cutlass was nice. I think people would use that in the roleplay events. I'm assuming people have used that in the roleplay events. The Mias one was nice. The crossbow, I don't know. I was on the fence on that one. And the Caplock rifle, I think, was a good option too. So I like the Caplock. If I had to make a guess based on this, I might give it the benefit of a doubt and price it up a little bit. The hardest part about doing this is I'm going to have to estimate the ship's value. This is what I did on the other previous videos because I want to make a recommendation by the end of this. And these aren't priced on the market yet. I'm pretty sure I could try to look it up, but I won't find it because it's only, 2 days in. Any price that's out there would be inaccurate anyway. In fact, I could show you like what the last one looked like. Let me see if I've even got that. You know what? I do have the Mias stuff up. Okay, hold on. Let me bring the website back up really quick. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, see this? This was the impact of the Mias. Notice how this is pretty normal. It happens. It's called an IPO pricing. You get a massive spike at the beginning. This is people overpricing the item because they don't know what it actually is. And it slowly kind of course corrects and moves itself down. And what you're really looking for in an IPO or initial public offering is where does it land and how much movement does it have? So in this case, this is the Mias Cutlass blueprint, which I'm going to use, you can't see it because I got the website. I'll show you in a minute. But this actually moved below, which means it performed poorly. It performed under expectations for where the market expected it to be in its opening month. On the other hand, the Figurehead performed, now that one also performed under, I'm just looking at it here. That one also performed underneath its speculative pricing as well, which means it didn't really do that well, frankly. And the market did not see fit to give it a correction at all, which is why it actually ended up down here. Anytime it ends up above the blue line, that's a good sign that the item actually has a good positive momentum. We saw it with the Mars Caplock rifle. We did see it with that one. Let's close that. So that's the analysis of that. I said this item will look nice. I wonder if it works like the wands, in which case it has some special effects on it too, or if it's just a visual only. Okay, let's go back and check the pricing because I'm going to need this. I'm going to open up the Excel spreadsheet. We're going to go and price this. And I'm also going to show you some of the changes I made to the existing spreadsheet to help with this. So that way I don't want to eat up the entire screen. I'm probably going to leave it up for most of the game. Okay, so this is how I do it. I do not price in some of the additional stuff, but I will go ahead and show you. I'll start up here with the Janus Brawler because it was where I started doing this. So you have the variant cost. This is the cost to buy it in the shipwright. Then you have the cost to build the actual ship. If you were going to build it with the same hull type, because this hull is the one thing you can't change once you build it in order to build this ship. I don't include some of the extra special stuff. So if I go back to the description here, for example, and it talks about it's got elm hull. So for when I do this for the Helios, I'm going to do elm, but I don't do the spruce deck red. I mean, this adds cost to it. It does. And if you factor in all of this, sure, the price of this ship will go up a bit, but it's all kind of subjective. And I felt like I'm doing a disservice by doing it that way. I can if there's interest. Obviously, I have the data for it. It's easy for me to add the data points to it. And this is the 6th release. I said after 6 months, I would go through and do a side-by-side comparison of all the ones to date to kind of figure out what I think is going to happen, which ones I liked, what I thought worked well is really what I'm heading for. So with that in mind, I felt like I don't want to do that because it adds so much variation to it. And really, I'm just looking for the things that a player can't reproduce themselves once this goes off sale. All right, so with that in mind, I've collected all of this in this Janus Brawler, for example. I can tell you the cost of this ship was 1.1 million to build at the time. These are the prices at the time when I recorded the data. And then I put the price to purchase that as I'm doing here. So you can see this one's 5,000 premium tokens. Captured that price too. And then do a comparison side by side. And then by request, I added a third section, which is all of the extra stuff. What does the market say I can sell this for? Now, I can tell you, you're not going to sell the Terry cannons that came with that. I mean, it's very hard to make. These are valued at 15,000 each per the market. Okay, and again, that's all data that we've collected from the market. I'm not just making that up, right? I can back that up with actual stats, but that's what it says. It was at the time, and basically the reason for it being so low is because these weren't universal cannons. Universal cannons are way less because if you had a Terry cannon converter kit, you would put it on a universal cannon. You're not likely to put it on one that you would build. And so to some extent, they're just kind of a waste, if you will. And this one's a bad example because those cannons were brass, but some of these were just iron, straight up iron. Those would have a hard time selling in the market, in my opinion. Obviously, some people will buy them, but that's where we stand. And then I just did this analysis for each ship. So we're going to do this analysis again, and we're going to do it for these 2 variants right now. So we ended here at the Mias Gargoyle, Mias Prime. These are the ones I did on stream. I cleaned it up a little bit just to make the data a bit more obvious as to what I was doing. Let's go ahead and add one. Let's do this one. This one's going to be the Helios Brawler. We'll start with that. Now, Brawler variants typically don't do as well on a statistical calculation. That's simply because they typically have less cannons. This is 5,000 premium tokens. So let me go ahead and down here and just put that in so I don't forget this number. 5,000. Let's take the actual number from the price guide when we take the premium tokens. Premium tokens 362. Fine. I'll do 362. It seems high. I don't really think I'd pay 362 doubloons per premium token, but whatever. Although I'm pretty sure this ship does not use premium tokens. Okay, and the other one's going to be 5,500. Hopefully I'll just remember that number. Let's go. All right, let's go check it out. What's it like to build a Tyrant? That's the question. As I recall, because I own a Tyrant, this ship is one of the cheaper ones to build, to the point where I actually liked it when I was building it. This was back when I was a younger player in the game, because it meant that I could afford a top tier ship, and the Tyrant was pretty highly rated at the time. So this is the newer version of it, but it is, I mean, it didn't really change much. It's still got 4 cannons on the side. These are kind of angled, so you can kind of get some range on them. And I did test a couple of runs against pirates that were in Tyrants just to see if I could pull it off on some of the faster ships. And I could, but it was difficult. Those cannons in the front are actually pretty good the way they're angled like that. So I'm hoping that doesn't change as a result of them putting a new variant on here. Okay, here we are. So let's go ahead and put in some of this data. We said it was Elm, right? Elm is cheap. All right, so I have to do that in a minute. The variant cost itself. Let's go back here and see how much the variant actually costs me. I do have a Tyrant right here. So the variants will be 120,000 or 100,000. 100,000 for the Brawler. Okay, that's an important note. Because the other one's 120. So something's up with these two. And I'm going to guess, and I'm going to say it right now, I think it's because, and I'm really hoping it's because, the developer has put universal cannons in this kit and not heavy and medium cannons. It is not worth it. Like, the cannons can't sell. If you put in universals, it's so much better. And the fact that they've changed it because there's 2 additional cannons on this one is my guess. Let me just check that. 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, there's 2 extra cannons here. I'm thinking that's probably why the price is different. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Okay, 100,000 anyway. I've got that. Now I got to go back and check the actual price for the ship itself. Build. Oops, I was already there and I moved. Okay. All right, I've got the price, number of iron I need. This is actually 180 now. I told you it moved up by 10 doubloons. I know that because I checked it. It's actually 182, so I'm rounding down. Iron, 130, and then elm, 650. See, it's pretty cheap on this front. And 70,000 doubloons only. Very happy with that. No premium tokens, no engines required. The total cost to build this ship today would be 1.4 million, 1,481,000, roughly. If you bought it, all your materials with the balloons and then built the ship with that, that's what it would cost you. Pretty cheap, honestly, for a top tier ship. And now that it's got a variant that allows you to put more than 4 cannons on it, probably even better, but we'll see. Okay, and the 5,362 to purchase this ship from the premium merchant is negative 18.17. I haven't seen a number low like that since the Janus. This leads me to believe they've gone back in time. Like they're going back to the beginning right here. So what I'm saying is this was a ship that was not worth buying. In hindsight, none of us knew. It was the very first one. It looked cool. It was new. And they did change the sails, which I'm not accounting for here. This is just based on pure cost alone. It's not even performance. But if you look at just that, this ship was not worth buying for the money. And now I'm down here looking at the same thing, and I notice the same trend. So it looks like they've gone back to it. Not quite against this, because the problem I had with the last 2 months when I talked about it was they broke away from this 5,000 premium tokens thing and started moving into just randomly changing the prices to be whatever seemed to fit. And it got very confusing. It took me, 20 minutes for those who were on it? 20 minutes or so to figure out why the Mias Prime was not the same price at 9,000 premium tokens as the Mias Gargoyle. Because Maple and Ebony, let's just say Ebony, effectively are the same price on the market. And that's why I was like, doesn't make sense. But, then it took me a little while to figure out it's because they're accounting for the cannons and expecting that the cannons will be worth selling for something. And the actual value, we did the math live, I think it was like 30,000 per cannon. And you look on the market, that's exactly what they're selling for. So math tied out perfectly. But it took a long time for me to figure that out, that they were accounting for the extra stuff being added. This wasn't just like fluff, but they're actually expecting that to be the value you're actually purchasing. So with that in mind, I see that this is already looking to me like we're back at the Janus at the very beginning, where it honestly was just about the ship. At least to me, that's how it felt. I was just buying it because I wanted the ship, not all the extra stuff. I didn't expect to do anything with those cannons. Anyway, so that's where we stand here. I'm trying to think, what else do I have to do? Okay, so we'll figure out those cannons in a minute. I don't know. I'm gonna give the benefit of a doubt and say these are universals. The Helios Brawler will only have 10 of them because it's missing the 2 in the front. Those were iron cannons, weren't they? I think they were iron cannons. They're not going to sell that well. I'm going to probably give it 25,000. They do have a a converter kit on it, so there is that. All right, the Figurehead. I don't even know. Figurehead. Let's start at 50,000. Let's go back to the beginning and see how much that one was worth. If it's special enough, it can go higher. 50,000. Yeah, that's what I thought. And then for the blueprint, I actually think that blueprint looks pretty good. What did we end up with on the website again? Did I say 200,000? Yeah, I'm going to go with 200,000 as an entry point for that one just to see if it sticks. That is the Tyrant. The Tyrant cost will be the same for both. Okay, so that's the Helios Brawler. While we're here, let's just go ahead and look at so I have the Tyrant. I might as well look at the 2. Let's see, modify, Tyrant, Interceptor. Let's go ahead and copy this. Let's go ahead and make another one, and let's do the Interceptor. This is 120,000. Should be the same iron Elm. You know what? Elm is not going to be 1981. Elm is cheap. Let me go back and check the Elm prices. I'm going to go, it's going to take me too long to find the price guide. Let me go to the bond market. Okay, I'm going to do Elm. All right, Elm prices. I've got buy price at 157. I've got a sell price of 203. I'll give it the benefit of a doubt and say it's 203. 203. I'm trying to make it as high as possible to give it a fighting chance, because it's bringing that price down even more. Okay, let's just do this. Let's see what the Mias stuff sold for. Okay, so the Figurehead on the Mias was, okay, the buy price listed at 100,000. The sell price was 264,000. What do I have going on over here anyway with this? Yeah, I'm going with the low prices, and that's what I normally do, and I just wanted to double check I was doing that. But now it makes me wonder whether or not I should be going for less. I'm specifically concerned about the melee weapon. You know what? No, I'm going to keep it there. I really want to see where that ends up. I'll change it later if I disagree, and I'll just send an update later if that's the case. But I don't think those cannons are going to be worth much if they're iron. And then the Figurehead price listed at 183. I'm going with 50,000. All right, I might up that to 183. I might update to around 150, depending on how good it looks once we're in there. Okay, But that's so the Interceptor just is all the same stats. It just costs more and it has 2 extra cannon slots. So let's go ahead and filter that in too. Again, I'm banking on this being universals. If these are not universals, this price is practically, I'll give it a 5,000 for posterity, but we'll see how that goes. Okay, it's not looking good. I was not expecting numbers this low, to be honest with you. None of this does not look like these variants are worth it. It looks almost like buying them from the shipwright is the way to do this. That's that. Okay, let's go back. So I've got the prices down now. Let me show you how I'm doing the stack ranking for all of these, and then we can also take a look at some of these later if you're interested. Widen this for a minute, because I need to add these in. So these show the price to build these ships in the shipwright, including the upgrade. I'm sorry, the variant increase as well. Since you can't build them anymore, I just wanted to see if there was any correlation between the prices of what we were paying for, and there's not. I mean, it goes up or down, but look at that number, man. It goes way down. The ROI for this, which is here. So this is the return on your investment. If you purchase the premium token variant versus building it in the shipwright, how much money are you saving? And if you see a negative number, it means you're not saving any money. And that's exactly what we're seeing, negative 80%. This is the lowest value we've seen yet. This extra as return on investment is how much money are you making with the equipment that comes with it? Okay, so that's his bottom ROI number here, negative 64. Okay, that's, again, very concerning. It means I'm going to have to figure out a different way to do this analysis, most likely, just to keep my formatting consistent. Let's just do this, and I'm going to drag this down. Okay, firepower. Firepower represents how many cannons are added to the ship with this variant or removed. So I saw 2 cannons added for the Brawler, and I saw 4 cannons added for the Interceptor. Trade. All right, the Interceptor variant, cargo's 4. Cargo doesn't change on either one. So I'm going to go ahead and put 0, 0. Remove that. Sorry, thank you again for telling me. But at least you can see the Excel spreadsheet, which is where I'm actually working, which is why I didn't see it. Okay. Performance. Is there any change to the max speed turn rate or the sail configuration changing? I don't really see the sail configuration changing. It looks exactly the same. Maybe behind the scenes it does. I could test it once I bought it and see if it makes a difference, but for now I'm just saying no. These are pretty low numbers. These numbers look like these numbers. Again, this looks like a copy of the Janus in terms of economic points. And then again, some of these numbers, it looks like they just added a Brawler and an Interceptor variant. The one thing I will say though is these variants, they look like they don't exist, right? And what I'm saying is, let me look at, there was a different one that I remember. I think it was the Brigand. Okay, yeah, the Brigand was the one. So the thing that this analysis shows, if you look down here, these 4 here, Raider, Interceptor, Elite Brawler, Base, there is no hauler variant. So when they released the hauler variant for this ship, it was incredibly valuable. Now the hauler variant used to be available on this ship for a limited time only, then they removed it, then they put the monthly one, the February version of this. And that's why when I stack rank these, I will rate the hauler probably an S tier ship, but I will not give the same rating to the Raider because the Raider has a variant already. And all it is just an improvement of that current Raider. It just adds more cargo. But the hauler variant was very unique because there is no other hauler variant on this ship, which means, and not only that, let's not answer on the fact that it is the best trade ship in the game at the moment, if you were lucky enough to get it at the time. So purchasing it, whether you did it through doubloons or you did it through the premium merchant, was a good pickup. And so I recommended everybody to get that ship. That has to be S tier. But I don't like the way these are stacking up unless I'm surprised by the actual ships themselves when I purchase it in a minute. I don't think I can give that a high rating, at least not right now. But we're going to obviously buy one. And based on the numbers I'm given here and my own personal preferences, I don't want to buy the Helios Brawler. Let me go back and see if there's anything special that I might have missed on this, but I'm pretty sure I got it all. And I think the only other thing I noticed is some of the ships will have different, cool gun, man. Some of the ships will actually give you different numbers of blueprints. No, this one is 1 on each. So this 500, you're paying extra for 2 extra cannon slots. All right, well, what do I want to do here? I have no reason to buy a Brawler. I know I won't use it. Not in any way. Actually, just looking at it, the numbers are lower for the Interceptor. Negative 60 with all of its stuff included. Oh, I'm making the assumption it's a universal cannon. I have to remember that. We'll see if that pans out to be true or not. Because again, they don't make any note in here. I have no clue. They don't say universal cannons, and they don't tell me they're long guns, right? Or whatever they should be. They don't say heavy or medium, I mean. Well, based on these numbers, the Brawler is not the one I'm going to buy. I'm going to buy the Helios Interceptor. So let's go ahead and get my premium tokens ready. I need to purchase a bunch, don't I? Helios Interceptor. I'm just waiting. This just doesn't seem like a good idea. All right. Helios Interceptor. Let's buy this. It is done. I now have a staff blueprint. Great. Okay. I already saw what the staff looks like. Okay, buddy. Oh, you're coming in. Let's go see what we got. All right. I bought the one with the blue, by the way. I am not opposed to this. I would have preferred that over the red stripe anyway. I like the darker colors. I like the contrasting stuff. The red stripe, make it a dark stripe. That's my opinion. There's no real red wood. It's dark. You got blood oak, but it's more brown. Well, I'm not seeing... These are definitely iron cannons. All right. I don't know what to think about this. Medium Royal Long Gun. Yeah, I knew it. Okay, so this is not... These are not universal cannons. So they literally went back to where we are with the Janus. So I'm going to go back and adjust my numbers based on what I think the ship is now worth. And how much am I going to be able to sell an iron, dark iron, medium, royal, long? Wait, I think I have other cannons like this. Let's go see if that's accurate. Oh, they're on a different ship. I forget which one it is. I've got them on one of my other ships. I know I saw dark iron cannons on something else. Oh, wait, let me put that cannon back on first. Well, yeah, I mean, I can't recommend this ship, to be honest with you. Maybe it'll perform really well in combat, and we'll get a couple of people who will definitely show that this thing's valuable. But, like, let me just give you a couple of other examples. So how many cannons are on the side of this broadside? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 5. Let's see how far I can angle this. I don't think I can angle it very far. No, I can aim it farther than I thought, but still, like, it's not... I'm pretty sure I think the other Tyrant can go even further. Keep an eye. Okay, so let's take a look at this straight from the front. I don't have the spiral on me. Otherwise, I'd actually do the actual count on this. But it's a 5 cannon broadside. How much do you think the Osprey has? How many do you think the Osprey has? I'm pretty sure the Osprey has 6. You'd be better off just buying the Osprey than that. Sorry, man. I am not going for a ride. I am about to actually put the ship away. But let me go do that. I'm gonna go take a look at the Osprey. And in other ships too that have 5 cannon broadside. And note the price you're paying for this. I built the Interceptor, right? So the price I paid in doubloons, I'm sorry, yeah, for the premium token variant right now is 1.81 million. To build this ship would have been 345,000. That's what this is saying. So let me just take a look at these and just double check I did my math right. This is a very cheap ship. The Tyrant doesn't cost a lot to build. Let's build an Osprey. Let's see what the Osprey looks like. Osprey has 6 cannon broadside. It has an angled cannon on the front. Pretty much the same angle, I would guess, as the one we just built with the Tyrant. I'd rather build this. There's others in here too. That's just the one that came top of my mind. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's 5. Here's a 5 cannon ship, the Mongoose, right? This one's got its own variants, by the way. Medium cannons. 10 medium cannons. It's also got 2 light cannons in the front. This is the same loadout, effectively. 250,000 doubloons to build, plus the materials necessary to build it. Far less, in my opinion. I can do the math real quick. I will do the math really quick. I'm so curious to know. 240, 80 is 43,000. So we'll round it to 50. 157, that's $200,000 to build that. So 200,000 plus the additional 250,000 doubloons required to build this. That's 450,000. I don't need a calculator to do this, even though that's what I'm doing. It's not 1.1 million, not 1.8 million. That's just where I am on it. I don't think that was a good purchase at all. And I think the math actually proved out that's exactly how I was going to feel about it before I purchased it. Now let's bring out that other Tyrant really quick. I just want to look at the angle on those front cannons just to see the difference between the two. Because it's going to make a difference for the Brawler variant. Okay. Oh, okay. I don't even have cannons on this. That shows you about how often I use it. Okay. I used this for trade running, and that was all I did with it. Okay, I gotta go get a cannon. Oh my gosh. All right, sometimes. If you ever think I pre-planned this, now you know I don't. Okay, universal, please, because I have no clue. Oh, man, carronades. Why do I care so much? I need something that glows so I can see it when it's moving. Soul Steel will. It's a carronade. I can't use a carronade. I need to use something different. Frost Steel is white enough. I think I can take Frost Steel. Where'd it go? Let's go up here to the front. Let's put that on. Oh, ship editor. Add. Okay. Well, let's check this out and see. You get a little bit better range. It went the same through the wood as the other one. And the other one is angled about here on the side. So it's just down further. So you will get a bit better range, but you still, you know, like I said, I've seen this ship work. I would say it wasn't the best, but it does okay. And it's fast enough. It can catch any ship that it's trying to catch. I mean, that it's trying to hunt down. Okay, well, the other thing I think I noticed, and I want to double check it now. The Tyrant's main one has a cabin in the back. If you're into cosmetics, I like the cabin. It's just maybe personal preference here. It's a small one. It's got nothing in here, right? So it's kind of worthless. Here. This thing. It has this instead. So there's no cabin, which also means you're in open air. This is why, by the way, when I said it looks like an Osprey to me. That's why I said it, because it feels like an Osprey with 5 cannons instead of 6. The Brawler variant especially will make me feel that way. So I'm glad I didn't get that one. I just, you know, okay, look at this. Okay, the staff, though, is going to be awesome. Okay, so in the past, I remember some of these figureheads will match the sail color. I don't see anything blue. So I don't think this thing is going to match the sail color, but they do have the glowing thing on top instead, which I guess does okay as a figurehead, but it probably looks even better as a weapon. So, okay, well, that's that. That's that ship. All right. Yeah, I'm not going to give this one a high rating. Buy this. This ship is worth it from the shipwright, hands down. No question about it. So with that in mind, let me switch gears really quick. So I did say that I was going to do a review of all of the ship variants to date. Okay, so this is what it looks like to date. If I had to pick, you know, what I noticed is I think the Janus was a learning experience. We were trying to figure out what constitutes a successful variant. The Janus had some unique differences in terms of its sail configuration and whatnot. And since it'll spawn near the guy here, I can do this really quick, I think, if I can find it. The thing is, it actually had cosmetic changes to the ship, which made it look cool. Like, look at this. I think the look and feel of this ship is so much better than the other one that just came out, the Helios. I think it works out better. I like the fact that they gave cannons that match. They tried their best to match the cannons' wheels and, you know, to the rest of the hull. I mean, there was some real thought put into this, I think. And this, while I said that there are close variants to all this, you know, they're going to be. The only one that was not the case, I think, was the Mars. Maybe the Aprilis. You know, it kind of worked out decent. And not only that, but they changed the configuration. The ship doesn't look the same as the base one. Like, on the video I made, I spent so much time just climbing the masts just to show how much taller these are. And I liked it. I think the cosmetic changes, if you're going to do a ship like this, where the value of it can't match out, you at least need to make the cosmetics look good. That's my opinion on it. And I think this ship pulled it off. So I give this one, if I had to rate it on a scale of, you know, A, B, C, D. I don't do Fs, by the way. Personal preference, I just don't feel like if I'm going to rate something an F, it wasn't worth talking about to begin with. So, and I'm a pretty harsh grader as it is. I do believe in the law of averages, meaning that I believe 50-50. 50 should be worse, 50 should be better. The middle should be 50%, not 80% like some people do. I'm not saying in Tradelands, I'm saying like reviewers of video games and whatnot. If you look at all their average ratings, they're typically in the higher range. It's because they're getting paid off by them, frankly. But the Janus, I got to rate this. The Brawler, I would rate as a D. The Interceptor, I'd rate as a C. Going out based on cosmetics, you didn't get any real advantage here. I gave it a 2 points for performance because when we tested the actual effect of the sails, we were able to do our trade runs faster with this ship by a factor of 2 points. It's effectively 2 seconds per minute, which is how I rated that. Otherwise, besides the changing of the sails, the rest of these, there's only one of them, right? The performance is going to actually match their speed. But that's how I rate these two. I think the February hauler was an A. I'm not giving it an S because the scale I'm going up to A. I think it's the best trader in the game. I think everybody should have got that ship while they had the chance. We said it multiple times to anybody who asked us. I still stand by that statement. I still use it myself. And like, it was unique. The whole thing was unique about it. And you look over here, also this one, the ship itself, purchasing it from, it made more sense to buy it from the premium merchant. When you see this number here, this column here, as a positive number, it means it makes more sense to buy it from the premium merchant than it did from the shipwright. If the number is lower, buy it from the shipwright. That's what that's saying. And just straight up, I thought this was the best ship in the game. The extra value, this is the value of all the additional items that you'll get. If you add them all together, came out to almost 50% net value. So the stuff it came with was even worth it. So this was a great pickup. I actually highly rate this one. The Raider variant ended up just slightly higher because it had 2 additional cannons. But again, those cannons are not worth anything because again, they're not universal cannons. I'm really disappointed that they raised the price on this, but didn't give universal cannons on it, because otherwise these two ships should have been the same price. Just like they did with the Janus. I'm literally showing it. These were the same price, both of these. They should have kept it. Why are they saying one is worth more than the other? That's what I don't understand. Maybe they're admitting that one of these is better in combat than the other, which is, in my opinion, something else to consider outside of just ranking ships. But nonetheless, it's for a different discussion. But the Raider variant I'm rated as a B, mainly because there was a Raider variant already available. All right, then we got the Mars variant. Right after the February was released, the Mars variant came out, and the Mars variant was fantastic as well. And this was the high point, in my opinion, of these ship releases. This has got to be an A as well. It was expensive. A lot of people complained about it, but it came out 10% ROI. And that's being unfair to the fact that the cosmetics of the freaking thing changed too. It was great. I thought this ship is great. I still think it is. I saw it used in roleplay almost immediately after it was released, and it held its own in combat. Definitely a good sign. And it was worth it. It was worth the purchase, in my opinion, due to the high price of it, though. And it was completely different. Like, the ship was not the same. You know, extra firepower. I was surprised to find, because I forgot about this, it's actually a trade ship. You can actually trade on this. I thought the series, because it came from the series, it had lost all of its trade value in order to make all of these additional guns work. But it's got turrets on it. I mean, it was basically a knockoff Ares in a way. For people who, because if you didn't buy it at an auction, you had no way of getting an Ares. Now you had the chance to do it. Hey, Cardinal, how are you? All right, that's that one. Now we're going to talk about the Aprilis variants. Now, there's a whole other video on this. I know it was lower resolution. I don't have a way of undoing that now, but I can at least review my comments on it. The hook was not worth it, in my opinion. 14% ROI, given that we saw the direction that they were already going with this. I just didn't understand why. The hook actually went backwards, in my opinion, because you took 2 cannons off the front and replaced it with 1. And those, by the way, I mean, the turret is just a cannon. Do you have a full map of Tradelands? I have a few. All right, that let me send that message. That's cool. Normally, if you put bids in there, it will mark it off. Okay, so I did not like the hook variant. Is it an F tier? Or is it D tier, I mean? No. The numbers ended up positive. I would never use it in combat, though. I just don't see any reason to buy this. You're better off with the base variant than you would be buying this, in my opinion. People can prove me wrong. By all means, please do. Yeah, I can send a few. He's asking me to send a few maps. Yeah, if you saw one you like, let me know. Otherwise, maps always available. If I've got them, I'll give them to you. All right, that's the hook. The Osprey variant, which I kind of felt this. If you remember when I was talking about the ROI on these two ships between the Hook and the Osprey seemed almost identical. And what ultimately killed it is the fact that the Falcon is so much higher. But I'm going to get to that in a minute. I didn't think the Osprey was going to make it. I think it's a C, slightly better. I could see the reason why you would buy this. I didn't actually test it, but I believe it's got a +1 on its firepower. But again, this is nominal difference, right? Especially now that we've got the Helios we got to compare it to. Like, this is not gonna make that much of a difference other than just for display. But the Falcon, on the other hand, was a damn good ship. I like this a lot. I think this was the ship to buy. Is the only one where the extra ROI on this goes above 100%. It was amazing to see this. I loved it. But the reason it went over 100% on its ROI is because it's ship ROI. The cost difference. Let's just go to the other sheet really quick. The cost difference between buying this from the premium merchant versus buying it from, let's see, here's the Falcon. This is what it costs to buy the premium merchant by 2.3 million. To buy it outright from the shipwright was 4.5 in that month specifically, but the prices how they were. This was the ship to buy, like with that hands down. I think I only calculated 40% on stream. I did the math offline. I came up with 92. It was the ship to buy for sure. It was the west portion of the map. Okay. I have the full Tradelands map. I have the full one. Some I made and some that people gave me. I can give you the full one. He can't hear me on stream most likely. You're going to have to find me offline, though. All right, but that's that one, so let's move on. The Falcon, man, do I rate it as another A or do I go with a B? Actually, I go with a B. And here's what I found out after the fact. I made a big deal about how that turret is effectively a chaser, but it also gives you a +1 to your broadside. However, I checked the base variant when I was on the shipwright, and I found out it actually removes the front cannon in order to make room for that. Which means I can no longer say that's an A. Because you're banking a lot on whether or not that ship, you have to sell the stuff on the side. I can pull it up. I'm not sure I personally was impressed with the Figurehead, but that doesn't mean others didn't like it. So it's hard for me to say that. Now here's the Gargoyle, which again was the whole point of the last stream we did. The Mias Gargoyle I think was probably worth it. The ROI on that ship was 35.26. That's enough for me to say that's probably a decent ship. The extras in it, the cannon set was universal cannons. It was a really good purchase. You're basically getting rid of all of your trade value on the ship. It meant that you were now changing this into a warship. And that's just what you were doing. And you knew what you were doing because that's its only value is that it has extra cannons. They didn't even really change the cosmetics on it. Spent a while trying to figure that out. I think they did add an eagle's nest eventually. And they didn't give it unique cannons. It's black sails, by the way. Or I said cannons, I meant sails. Yeah, they did. They added this up here. Oh, you can actually get to it too. Okay. Well, that's cool. That wasn't there when I was doing the review before. Let's go ahead up there and see what it's like. And man, it is a tall ship for sure. Cool. Here we are. I can see everything. Man, I should take my videos from up here from now on. Wow, there's a lot going on up here. Okay. Well, with that in mind, and having just seen that, I'll rate this as a B. I did not think the Mias Prime was worth it. Yeah, I didn't like the Mias Prime. I thought it was overpriced. When we did this, we basically found out that they were just accounting for the additions of the cannons, which were special. But is it 30,000 per cannon is how much it came to, and that's the market price for them. I don't know. I was expecting something to be worth a little bit more. They're basically making you buy them at cost. The cannons at cost, but the additional price point. Because putting your ship in Ebony versus, I think it was, Maple? I think this is. I mean, the difference on this isn't really enough. The price-wise, it did make a difference. So I'm rating this one as a C. And then I'm going to rate both of these as a D. I don't recommend buying these from the premium merchant. I should probably have added. The rating system I'm giving is to buy this from the premium merchant. I'm not suggesting buying these from the shipwright. I think all of these variants, you should have at least one of them from the shipwright. You should have one variant of all these ships because you never know which of these will be unique later. It'll be interesting. My opinion on this will change based on how it performs in combat. Based on the stats I saw when I checked it out in the shipwright, I didn't see anything to suggest to me that it will outperform some of the other ships that are already available. So, and it changes the ship cosmetically a little bit, but again, I don't see it being enough. You're sacrificing a little bit of forward firepower. On this one specifically, I'm not even sure if this will, this probably won't have any nominal, the difference will be nominal is what I mean to say. This one here, you're getting 4 cannons on, but you're paying 500 more premium tokens to get it. Let's see how I ended up with the rating system. I gave 4 Ds, 3 Cs, 3 Bs, 2 As? Yeah, like I said, tend to grade on the harder side, I guess. But that's kind of where I stand on it. Yeah, buy this from the shipwright. Don't buy it from the premium merchant. That's my opinion. Unless you really want the staff and you think the staff's worth a lot. I certainly wouldn't buy that now. I'd wait and see what the price of those go on the market. Because maybe you don't need to spend all those premium tokens just to get that staff if that's what you want. Staff looks freaking awesome, though. I do like it. I think that's pretty cool. I like it even more now that I'm looking at it at night too. Which of this changes? Oh, because I don't have anything on me to, because I think it makes the gold stand out a little bit better. Change it to steel. Nah, I should stick with gold. I don't know. But like always, I usually just collect these blueprints and I just don't do anything with them. So, all right. Yep. Cardinal, I will be checking my DMs and I will have to locate a map for you. I do not have one in front of me at the moment. Again, just changed my computer. So who knows where I put it. I can tell you I didn't lose anything though. I was able to copy over all of my videos. They're all stored on external drives at the moment, which means I can still technically do all the Freeport games and I can still do the stuff that I meant to do from the last year's Proshovian event. I meant to do a finale video on that, which I have yet. I've recorded half of it. I've got a trailer going, but that's as far as I've gotten. And again, just need the time for it. There's a number of issues you guys brought up to me while I've been streaming, so thank you for that. I need to go through and figure out what I'm going to do about that. But I've gone through the variants. You can see my stack ranking as I promised I'd do. Always open the questions. I'll be keeping an eye on premium token prices for sure. I know that crate releases are most likely around the corner. I will say it once again. My comment on this, I feel like releasing content this way with the ships, I know, again, I'm being a harsh grader on the ships, but I like this so much better than I like the crates. Releasing it this way feels more, I don't know, special. It feels like I have a vested interest in what I'm doing rather than just purchasing a bunch of items that I probably can't use and they're just going to sit in my inventory. Or frankly, I'm just going to have to delete them because I don't have space. And I'm going to have a real hard time figuring out how I'm going to purchase any of the crate items that come up unless I can rejigger my inventory somehow. That's a me problem, of course. I just don't, I have a philosophy that I don't want to purchase. I don't want to be giving Robux and receiving nothing in return. And anytime I have to get an item, and then if I have to delete that item, like I don't even get the one, they don't even release with scrap values. So in that case, I effectively give 100 Robux to receive nothing. I'd rather donate directly than to a developer than I would to do it this way, if that makes sense. So, and I have the capability of doing that. So why wouldn't I, right? That's kind of my opinion on it. I would rather, what they did with the cannon crates, I wish they'd do something similar to that where there's more like a high roller version where I didn't have to go through all of the purchasing like hundreds of items just to get one that has some value, right? Why can't I just pay 10 times as much for one crate that definitely has value, right? That's the way I look at it. I was going to pull up my thing and show you. I see this. Okay, this isn't a good example. Not all of these items in here have scrap value. So it's a bunch of candles, but I can't sell all these. This doesn't have, this came out in the last release. It doesn't have a scrap value. So it's just sitting here. What am I going to do with an iron giant axe? That's my struggle. And you can see I fight this every time. And then people ask me to do the crate releases and I say, absolutely, I want to do it, but I don't have the space to. And then I got to kind of work that out. So again, these are all me problems. I'll figure it out eventually, but I know those are coming. I know there's a big release coming. I've been preparing for it. The group's been preparing for it. It's just a matter of time. It's just a waiting game at this point. And I'm really hoping to save enough time that I want to do an actual trailer for the game to show off the new map once it comes out. I'm really hoping I get an opportunity to do that. But that's all for later. I think that's all I was planning to cover for today. Well, I hope it helped. Again, ending my recommendation for the Helios, buy it from the shipwright. The numbers seem to point out that that's the way to do it. Plus, it's Elm. The ship was Elm, so you can build that. Or you can pick a wood you want, right, to make it look the way you want. The cannons you're getting with it aren't really that unique. You can probably buy the blueprint from somebody else who's willing to sell it. So that's my opinion on it, if you really wanted the staff. And who knows, is the staff even usable in roleplay? That might factor into it as well. But okay, I still have a lot of kinks to work out on this. My hope is to eventually get this to a point where I can have a stable stream consistently. So once I'm able to figure that out. Oh, there is one final thing, and I meant to cover it at the beginning, and I totally forgot. I will cover it now just because I told them I would, but what I'm really going to do is dedicate this to another stream in the future. A player named Napoleon, thank you for this, by the way, has sent me an interesting chart that I want to share with you all. Because when I saw it, it totally reminded me of something I used to talk about a lot in this game as well, and that is the impact the game events have on on the players and what we're doing for those of us who like don't participate in role plays, for example. This example is basically showing a way that the game could function by having governments and trade companies actually impact the way that new players interact with the game. And I think this is a great thing. I think attracting new players is a great idea. It's very similar to the idea that I had in the past as well, where I was basically saying, you know, when role play happens, it should impact like trade lanes, or it should have an impact on, I mean, they do it now where they have the rotating factions going to war with each other, which is, it's kind of nice. But they used to do things like certain events would cause players to have to bring a certain number of goods from one port to another. And there would be a benefit for it. And I remember once I specifically enjoyed, and that was when they were rebuilding the castle or the fort on Nova Belresca, we brought stone from Harrisburg. And there was a whole event based around this. And it was so much fun. And I wish there would be more things like that in the game, where things that are happening in roleplay impact the way that players act in the game. This was another idea that, just looking at it, was like, yes, this would be such a great idea. It's more interactivity. It means that if you can't participate in role plays, you have a way of actually still participating in role plays. So anyway, wanted to bring this idea up. Again, not mine. This diagram was written by a player named Napoleon. So thank you very much for sharing it with me. And I owe him a longer conversation on this. So the next video I do, I want to talk about this at the beginning, go through it in a little bit more detail, and also talk about some of the other ideas that have come up as well. So, but anyway, wanted to make sure I got that in. So sorry I did it at the end, but I did get it in. So there's that. All right. Well, that's going to do it for today, guys. Thank you very much for coming to watch this. Sorry the stream was a bit glitchy. I knew it was going to happen. I made the note in Discord before I even started it, knowing that it was going to happen. So that's that. But anyway, thank you. And I'll see you all next time.